Hey guys, welcome back to my channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a company that's very exciting. It's based out of the States. It operates in the MJ space. I currently hold shares in this company, and it's none other than Planet 13 Holdings. Now this company just reported phenomenal Q4 and year-end numbers. They also provided Q1 guidance, and I'm really excited to see where this company ends up in the next couple of years. They've got massive growth plans ahead of them. They're starting to see some huge numbers, and this company's starting to get talked about a lot on the YouTube community and the stock forums and message boards. So this is one that I'm really excited about. I am planning on adding to my position, and I wanted to walk you guys through their business model in a little bit more depth during today's video. Now, if you haven't already, please take a second to smash that like button. It really does help out the channel, and it helps get this content to other people who also may find value. If you're not a subscriber, please feel free to subscribe to McNallie Money. And as always, leave a comment in the section below letting me know what you think of this analysis and if you currently hold any Planet 13 shares. Now without further ado, let's roll the intro clip and get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today we're going to be talking about Planet 13 Holdings. Now this company is one that I'm currently invested in. I've got shares on the Canadian exchange, so we're going to jump over to that listing in a second. But I wanted to bring up the US listing here. It trades under the ticker symbol PLNHF on the OTC exchange. It closed out the day up just under 2%. It came in at $7.25 with a $1.3 billion market cap in US dollars. Now if we jump over to the Canadian listing, you can see the ticker symbol here is PLTH. It closed at $9.10 Canadian with a market cap of 1.65 billion in Canadian dollars. Now if we zoom out to a 6-month, you can see this stock has had a good run. It was trading in the low 4s back in October. It actually hit just over $10 in February. So again, we saw that strength in a lot of MJ companies in the start of the year here in 2021. It has pulled back a little bit. It hit a low of about 725 in March, and then it retested that support level on March 29th towards the end of the month. Now it has had a good run in the last couple of days. They just reported very strong Q4 year end and provided revenue for Q1 of 2021. So the numbers are starting to look extremely impressive, and that's why I wanted to get this video out and talk about this company in a little bit more detail. Now I will warn you guys, there's a lot of different elements to this company, so I've tried to go into as much detail as possible, but I'm always happy to put out additional videos about any of these companies if there's specific aspects of the business that you want me to dive into in a little bit more depth. Now, in terms of my holding in Planet 13, I actually got into this company at $4.70 Canadian, so we're up pretty handsomely on the position. I give you a full breakdown of that in my portfolio review videos, so if you want to see how many shares I hold and my total profit loss percentage on this position, make sure you check out those videos. But for now, let's jump into today's video and start discussing Planet 13's business model. Now, in terms of what Planet 13 actually does, I really like to think about it as two distinct sections or pieces of their business model. Number one is their retail distribution, mainly these superstores, but we're going to talk about some smaller community-based retail locations later in the video. So number one is the superstores, and then the second portion is their branded products, and they've actually got a really impressive brand portfolio. We're going to go through each one of them in a little bit of detail here throughout the presentation, but I like to think of this company in those two aspects. I think both of them are extremely exciting, and they really do complement each other well. Obviously, they can push their own products through their retail locations and these superstores. They've also got a really immersive experience in the superstore where you can actually watch the products being made, and we're going to see that in a second here. But I think that's really cool for people, especially in the Las Vegas location that's known for tourism, and it really gets people involved with the process and the behind the scenes in the MJ space. So I'll read out, based on their website, what they describe themselves as. So Planet 13 is a vertically integrated MJ company based in Nevada. Planet 13 owns the world's largest MJ MJ store steps from the Las Vegas Strip. We're going to look at its location here, but it's very well positioned to take advantage of the extremely high number of tourists that visit the Las Vegas Strip each year. And they're actually starting to see tourism rates rebound to pre-pandemic levels. So that's going to be really exciting. Now, this complex actually won the Leafly Nevada Dispensary of the Year in 2018. So it's very well known and it's very well established. It offers unparalleled customer experience focused on unique interactive entertainment and some of the best MJ products offered anywhere in the United States. And this alludes to what I was chatting about, allowing people to get involved with the experience. We're going to see a number of ways that they really invite their customers to partake and look at purchasing MJ as a holistic experience rather than just a transaction. The Planet 13 Superstore acts as a showcase for a growing portfolio of branded products. So this is their own in-house brands, including vapes, edibles, pre-rolls, and concentrates. Planet 13's ambition is to operate ultra high-end dispensaries in Tier 1 markets nationwide. And we're going to look at that rollout plan both in terms of this year and future years, but they do have an extremely aggressive build-out plan for the United States. Now, their main brands are Medicine, Trendy, and Leaf and Vine, but there's also a number of other ones that we're going to look at throughout this video. And I should mention, in addition to their actual superstores, they also sell their products wholesale to other retailers and distributors across the United States. So we're going to focus on the actual product portfolio first in this video. Then we're going to look at the superstore concept and their growth or their build out plans over the next couple of years. But I wanted to kind of break the video down into those two components. So we're going to focus on the products now. Now, a couple things I wanted to point out on this slide before we go into the specifics about each brand. Number one, they're wholesaling to over 45 dispensaries in Nevada. So it's not just their superstores that are selling these products. Secondly, they've got multiple SKUs in different product categories that are ranked in the top 10 in Nevada. So we're going to see that through some of their edibles, their gummies, their chocolates. These are very well-known products and they're gaining in popularity at a very quick pace. And then finally, in-house brands actually make up about a quarter or 25% of all superstore sales in Q3 of 2020. So the most recent quarter when this presentation was put together. Now, we're gonna, as mentioned, talk about the company's fourth quarter and year-end results. But at the time this presentation was put together, Q3 was the most recent quarter that they had reported. So here are the brands themselves. First up is Medicine. This was the first one listed on their company description. This brand focuses on the flower, vapes, and concentrates. And as the name implies, the Medicine brand portfolio really focuses on the medical MJ market. And as a result of that, they really take pride in these products. They're hand selected. They use specific genetics or strains for these product offerings. And the cultivation process is extremely consistent and controlled because it is being used ultimately for a medical product at the end of the day. So Trendy is on the other end of the spectrum. This is a recreational product line. This focuses on extracts, vapes, and concentrates, and they're really positioning this as being ahead of the curve or kind of setting the trend for the MJ space. So they use unique products. They've got very appealing packaging and exceptionally high potency and purity in these products. So these are for people that are really looking to push the envelope and try out some innovative and exciting new things in the MJ space. And then finally, Leaf and Vine was the third brand that was listed on the previous slide. This one again has flower, vapes, concentrates, and this one's really focused on kind of the mid or average level consumer, and it's really meant to appeal to the general or greater audience in the MJ space. Now, a couple that weren't listed on the previous slide are actually these Dreamland chocolates. So this is one that I'm extremely excited about. This is THC infused chocolate. You can see a picture of them right here. And these edibles are really high end. They're focused on people that are looking for top notch or high caliber product with great flavor and great effect. Now, sticking with the edible theme, they also have the Haha brand, which produces gummies and beverages. And again, very high quality infused products that use real fruit ingredients and flavors that really bring out the MJ itself. This one again is extremely popular, and the Haha brand name is really starting to be recognized in the MJ community across North America. And then finally, the Planet M. So this focuses on some of the other product categories, tinctures, topicals, bath bombs, and gummies as well. So these are Planet 13 branded products, and they kind of fill in the gap gaps that the other brands have missed. So overall, you can see their product portfolio is extremely deep. It's very well branded, it's very eye-catching, and they really do have different levels of products and different brand propositions that should appeal to most segments of the MJ market. So shifting gears now, we're going to actually look at the Superstore retail footprint and talk about that part of the business. So I wanted to kick it off with this slide because I thought this was really interesting. So about 3/4 of Americans actually prioritize experiences over products. And as I think about it, a lot of the stores that are really successful, like for example, Apple or Lululemon, they really have a unique feel in their stores, and you really get a consistent positive experience when you go into any of their retail locations. And that's exactly what Planet 13 is trying to emulate here with these superstores. So you can see they call out some special features that they have, such as LED floors, lotus flowers, outdoor water features, 3D projection, and laser graffiti. So they've got a lot of cool things that people are going to talk about, they're going to remember, and they're going to tell their friends about, and those people are going to want to go experience that exact same thing. So even if you're not the biggest MJ consumer or necessarily into this subculture, they offer a lot of excitement and value adds on the experience itself, and I think that's what really differentiates these stores from a lot of the other retailers that we've seen, such as High Tide or some of the other companies that are going after a more traditional retail experience. So there's really two markets that this company is focused on at this point in time. Number one is Nevada, that's where their flagship location is, that's where they're based out of, and then California. Now California is the newer of the two markets, so we're going to talk about them first. They're currently focused on a Santa Ana project where they're going to open up the first superstore in this state, and this is going to be opening hopefully in 2021. We have a news article talking about the construction process that we're going to look at in a couple of slides here, but this is going to be great and open them up to the biggest MJ market in the entire world. So I'm definitely excited about that one. We'll then jump into the Nevada side of things and talk about their strategy there. They've obviously got the Planet 13 Superstore, which we're going to look at, and then they've also got a Medicine dispensary, which is a smaller location meant to serve off-strip customers. And in addition to the retail footprint, they've also got their cultivation facilities and production facilities based in Nevada. So in terms of the California market, here's their roadmap for 2021. So they're focused on opening this initial superstore again by mid-2021. They then want to launch a home delivery program in the surrounding area to service the locals and the resorts. Third on the list is vertically integrate through acquisition of cultivation and production facilities. So they actually want to purchase the means of production in California as well. So they've got two different states where they can actually produce and distribute this stuff from. And then finally is to launch and distribute Planet 13's House of Brands in California. So get out into other retailers and start pushing their branded products to more customers through storefronts that aren't necessarily owned by Planet 13. Now in terms of the Superstore in Orange County, it's planned to be 55,000 square feet. So these are absolutely massive locations. There's going to be 16,500 square feet of dispensary space with additional space reserved for auxiliary stores and experiences similar to Las Vegas Superstore. When we get into the Nevada or the Las Vegas section, we have a few pictures of these experiences so you guys can see exactly what we're talking about, but definitely very cool and very different than any other retail stores I've seen in the MJ space. In terms of location, they picked this spot because it's very close to Disneyland, South Coast Plaza Mall, which is an extremely busy mall, Knott's Berry Farm, and then obviously many of the most popular California beaches. So it really does offer high foot traffic and a lot of exposure, both for locals and for people that are coming to California or LA for other experiences. So this article actually talks about the beginning of the construction at this Orange County, Santa Ana location. This is from February 3rd, so they've already been constructing this for a couple of months, and this is actually a rendering of what the store is going to look like. So you can see very inviting and an absolutely massive store, similar to like a Walmart or some of these big box retailers that we've seen. Now in the article, they talk about achieving a major milestone, which was actually the final permits required for this construction to start. They then go into the square footage, which we just talked about, and the experiences that are ultimately going to look and feel a lot like the Las Vegas location. So now we're going to get into the really exciting part of this presentation. I don't want to say I saved the best for last, but this is really what has me excited as an investor in Planet 13. So you can see the Las Vegas Strip here. This is located just off that strip. So again, very high foot traffic and very accessible to the residents of Las Vegas, but primarily the tourists that are visiting the strip and all the casinos and hotels that are obviously on the strip. Now, in terms of what the Superstore looks and feels like, this is a few pictures from the actual Las Vegas location. So they have restaurants and coffee shops in-house. So you can actually go in there, have a meal, sit down, visit with friends, family, whatever the case is. They've got in-house production. So you can actually walk up to these windows and watch the products being made. So in this case, it's the Haha Gummies. And that's really cool. This is something that a lot of companies really keep behind the scenes. And a lot of times the production and the retail facilities are kept separate intentionally. I think this is great and it's very immersive for customers. It also allows full brand transparency, so you can actually see the products that you're using and buying being made in real time. Now the final picture here talks about the interactive experiences, so the digital LED floor and some of the decorations that they've got in the location. So this is obviously a van, I guess, being hotboxed, but again, it's things that people are going to laugh about, take note of, remember, probably take pictures and post online, and it really draws additional people into these locations. Now in terms of the numbers for this location, they did $63 million in revenue in 2019. They had over 1 million visitors, so again, extremely high foot traffic here. This is unheard of for most retail locations throughout the world, but because Vegas has so many tourists, it's definitely doable. And they achieved 9% of Nevada's overall MJ sales for the year. So that's extremely impressive as well, considering this is one location in the entire state. Now in terms of their 2021 goals for Nevada, they want to maintain that market share of about 8 to 10%, so very consistent to what we saw in 2019. They want to leverage their production facility and their cultivation facility to grow the share of Nevada wholesale MJ and ultimately increase their margins in other retail stores. And then finally, they want to gain market share with the locals in Las Vegas Valley through their medicine dispensary and delivery business. So similar to what they're trying to do in California, but they want to really build out this at-home delivery service. And I think that's great, especially on the medical side of things, where maybe these people don't have the means or the desire to get out and visit some of these highly congested or very busy superstore locations. Now they call out the compound annual growth rate in the Nevada market itself at just under 17%, and they project this growth to continue all the way through 2025. So that's exciting to see as they're investing more money into this business model. Obviously, it's great that the overall market and the numbers support that growth. So this is a cool slide here. In gray is actually their revenue for each quarter from Q4 of 2018 to Q3 of 2020. EBITDA is the red line here. So you can see that for about 5 quarters from Q1 of 2019 to Q1 of 2020, revenue was relatively flat. EBITDA did bounce around from about $1.5 million to a high of $3.5 million, but the revenue is very consistent, and that was really when this company was laying the groundwork or putting the building blocks in place to ramp up for their big growth. Now, as we move into 2020, obviously we have the pandemic situation, so you can see some major milestones at the bottom here. They launched their Planet 13 brand statewide. They purchased additional cultivation, but because of the pandemic, which they highlight in green here, their revenue and their EBITDA actually fell off a cliff. So it went down by about $6 million from Q1 of 2020 to Q2 of 2020. Now, what's really encouraging here is you can see in Q3, even during this pandemic, their revenue doubled quarter over quarter and was sitting up at $23 million. EBITDA came in at a record $6.2 million as well. So that tells me that this location is really starting to rebound and they're starting to get that traffic that they had prior to the pandemic. Now, as we look at Q4 and year-end numbers at the end of the video here, you're going to see these trends continue. They also give us some figures for Q1 of 2021, and it's starting to look really, really exciting for this company. Now, one last thing I wanted to mention on the retail front before we get into their overall growth plans and then their Q4 results was actually this Medizin neighborhood retail concept. Now, these are meant to provide a very similar experience as the Superstore in a smaller setting and obviously smaller square footage. So fully built out, these are under 5,000 square feet. So they are relatively small compared to the Superstore. And the goal with these is really to serve other areas of the market and push their in-house brands at a higher rate or on a higher percentage basis than they do at their Superstores. So this is really cool, and I think it's great that this company has two different strategies for retail. One to take advantage of the very busy tourist type areas, and then one to target or focus on maybe the more traditional residential communities. So now that we've talked about the brand portfolio, the Superstore experience, the growth plans in California, and their existing operations in Nevada, I wanted to zoom out a little bit and look at their overall growth objectives across the US in 2021 and over the next 5 years. So you can see they have a couple objectives listed here. Number one is to get that Orange County Superstore opened. They've already started construction, but they need to get that one open and start serving California, which is really the biggest MJ market in the world. They're looking to either win or acquire additional licenses in Tier 1 markets for Superstore development. So they've identified these different cities as potential Tier 1 markets based on population, tourism, and overall exposure. Personally, I think it would be great if they could break in on the East Coast, so potentially a New York or Miami would be phenomenal. Obviously, we just saw New York pass their recreational MJ bill recently here, and I think having some exposure on the East Coast would really help their overall brand recognition and their national build-out strategy. And then their third point here is to continue to open these neighborhood medicine dispensaries in attractive neighborhood markets. Now, if we zoom out one step further, this talks about their 5-year objective. So they're targeting to have 8 Superstore locations in these Tier 1 markets open and operational within the next 5 years. So when we get into their financial analysis on the next tab here, consider these numbers potentially would be multiplied by 8 by 2025. Now, this footnote was interesting. They basically say if a city is able to support a major sports team, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, baseball, whatever the case, that's what they consider to be Tier 1, and those are the markets they want to open these Superstores in. In addition to that, they continue to build out their neighborhood stores in this 5-year plan. And again, these are strategically located based in profitable markets across the United States. So this is where we wrap things together and tie up this video. And it's very fitting. These results just came out on Monday, April 5th, so they're very recent, and they disclose full year F20 results and Q1 2021 revenue. So we're going to work with these numbers a little bit, but I did want to read off the highlights here. So we'll talk about Q1 in a second, but in terms of 2020, overall revenue came in at $70 million. And remember, this is during a global pandemic with one Superstore location in a city that's very dependent on tourism. And obviously travel has been very restricted this year. They had 2020 EBITDA of just under $9 million. And Planet 13 came in at 8.2% of overall Nevada dispensary revenue in Q4, so they did manage to maintain that 8 to 10% range that they were targeting. Now, a couple other things that are interesting in this article, you can see they do give Q1 2021 revenue, which came in at $24 million, $10 million of which actually came in March. So they're ramping up tremendously. If you were to annualize that out based on March performance, they'd be looking at approximately $120 million a year from this Las Vegas location. And if you were to use the same ratio of EBITDA to revenue that we saw in 2020, that would mean they would be producing about $15 million of EBITDA from this location for the full fiscal year if the March revenue trend continued for a full 12 months. Now, the CEO calls out a few critical things here. He talks about the pandemic. He talks about a 55% decrease in tourism in Nevada and specifically Las Vegas. And despite that, they were still able to generate over $70 million. He also talks about Las Vegas being back, and because of the rapid vaccination schedule in the United States, tourism is picking up at a rapid pace here, and they feel like 2021 is really going to be back to normal or back to business in terms of overall tourism activity. And then they also give an update on the Orange County Superstore, saying it's both on track in terms of timeline and budget, and they're targeting an opening in July. So that's going to be coming up very soon, and something this company and myself as an investor are extremely excited about. As you scroll down through the article, you can see for the full 12-month period, revenue did come in just north of $70 million, which we saw. Gross profit on that was about half, so $35.4 million, meaning gross profit margin came in just north of 50%. And for the entire year, they did post a net loss of just under $8 million, which equates to 5 cents per share versus a 2-cent loss in Q4. So if we now start running those numbers a little bit, if you think back to their market cap, which is just north of $1.3 billion US, and based on this 2020 revenue of $70.5 million, these are all in US dollars, they're trading about 18.5 times revenue in terms of revenue to market cap. Now, if you were to extrapolate out their March results and assume they're able to hit $120 million in 2021, which I think is extremely conservative considering tourism is ramping up and summer is really going to be peak season in Las Vegas, that would mean they're only trading at about 11 times revenue in terms of revenue to market cap. Now, if you then layer in the Santa Ana location, which should be just as busy as Las Vegas, considering California is the biggest MJ market in the world, that would get them down to about 7 times revenue, assuming that location opens in July and runs through about $10 million a month in revenue. So those numbers are looking really attractive. And if you recall in some of my previous videos, we looked at market cap to revenue of some of the other big companies in this space. And for example, a company like Canopy is trading about 25 times revenue, Tilray 18, Afria 11. So Planet 13 coming in with these types of numbers looks extremely good. Not to mention the additional plans to open 6 more Superstore locations, plus all the medicine dispensaries in the smaller neighborhood locations. The numbers for this company, you can see, will quickly add up. And that's why I'm so excited about this company and my investment in Planet 13. Now, the other thing that I really like about this company is they have 100% exposure in the United States. So they're very well positioned to take advantage of this federal legalization. They've got a business model that works. These stores are extremely popular, they're extremely marketable, and they create lasting experiences for those customers. And I think regardless of the location, Miami, New York, LA, Las Vegas, people are going to want to go here. They're going to want to tell their friends about it, and they're going to want to purchase a product to remember that experience, even if they're not a huge MJ consumer themselves. So for those reasons, you guys, I'm extremely bullish on Planet 13. I know a number of other people on YouTube are talking about this company and buying shares as well. And I think this one is a very solid bet on the US market and the MJ space overall. It's a nice size of company. You've still got a ton of growth ahead of them, but it's also broken out of that penny stock status. So it's got a little bit more safety or security. They've got a great cash position, and I think very limited downside in terms of risk to reward on your investment. Now that's it for today's video, you guys. I hope this helped open your eyes to this company in terms of their business model, their product offerings, and their growth plans over the next couple of years. I know we didn't get to cover everything in as much detail as I would have liked, but due to the time constraints of this video, I hope this gives you a good general understanding of what this company does. As always, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think about Planet 13 overall and this analysis that I've done on the company. If you haven't already, please take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and on a final note, make sure you have a great rest of your day.